we will continue with the Christmas story. Today's story is called The Gift. It's just a small white envelope stuck among the branches of our Christmas tree. No name, no identification, no inscription. It has peeked through the branches of our tree for the past 10 years or so. It all began because my husband Mike hated Christmas. Oh, not the true meaning of Christmas, but the commercial aspects of it. The frantic running around at the last minute to get a tie for Uncle Harry, and the dusting powder for Grandma. The gifts given in desperation because you couldn't think of anything else. Knowing he felt this way, I decided one year to bypass the usual shirts, sweaters, ties, and so forth. I reached for something special just for Mike. The inspiration came in an unusual way. Our son Kevin, who was 12 that year, was wrestling at the junior level at the school. He attended, and shortly before Christmas there was a non-league match against a team sponsored by an inner-city church, mostly black. These youngsters, dressed in sneakers so ragged that shoestrings seemed to be the only things holding them together, presented a sharp contrast to our boys in their spiffy blue and gold uniforms and sparkling new wrestling shoes. As the match began, I was alarmed to see that the other team was wrestling without headgear, a kind of light helmet designed to protect wrestlers' ears. It was a luxury the ragtag team obviously could not afford. Well, we ended up walloping them. We took every weight class. And as each of their boys got up from the mat, he swaggered around in his tatters with false bravado, a kind of sweet pride that couldn't acknowledge defeat. Mike, seated beside me, shook his head sadly. "I wish just one of them could have won," he said. "They have a lot of potential, but losing like this could take the heart right out of them." Mike loved kids. All kids. And he knew them, having coached little league football, baseball, and lacrosse. That's when the idea for his present came. That afternoon, I went to a local sporting goods store and bought an assortment of wrestling headgear and shoes and sent them anonymously to the inner-city church. On Christmas Eve, I placed the envelope on the tree, the note inside telling Mike what I had done, and that this was his gift from me. His smile was the brightest thing about Christmas that year, and in the succeeding years. For each Christmas, I followed the tradition. One year, sending a group of mentally handicapped youngsters to a hockey game. Another year, a check to a pair of elderly brothers whose home had burned to the ground the week before Christmas. And on and on. The envelope became the highlight of our Christmas. It was always the last thing opened on Christmas morning, and our children, ignoring their new toys, would stand with wide-eyed anticipation as their dad lifted the envelope from the tree to reveal its contents. As the children grew, the toys gave way to more practical presents. But the envelope never lost its allure. The story doesn't end there. You see, we lost Mike last year due to dreaded cancer. When Christmas rolled around, I was still so wrapped in grief that I barely got the tree up. But Christmas Eve found me placing an envelope on the tree. And in the morning, it was joined by 3 more. Each of our children, unbeknownst to the others, had placed an envelope on the tree for their dad. The tradition has grown, and someday will expand even further with our grandchildren standing around the tree with wide-eyed anticipation, watching as their fathers take down the envelope. Mike's spirit, like the Christmas spirit, will always be with. May we all remember the Christmas spirit this year, and always. God will. We will continue with the Christmas story. Today's story is called The Gift of the Magi. $1.87. That was all. And 60 cents of it was in pennies. Penny saved 1 and 2 at a time. 3 times Della counted it. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl. So Della did it. When Della finished her cry, she attended to her cheeks with a powder puff. She stood by the window and looked out dully. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 to buy a present for Jim. Many a happy hour she had spent planning for something nice for him. Something fine and rare and sterling. Something just a bit near to being worthy of the honor of being owned by Jim. Suddenly she whirled from the window and stood before the looking glass. Rapidly, she pulled down her hair and let it fall into its full length. Now there were two possessions of the James Dillingham Youngs, in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. So now Della's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. She did it up again nervously and quickly. Once she faltered for a minute and stood still while a tear or two splashed on the worn red carpet. On went her old brown jacket. On went her old brown hat. With a whirl of skirts and with the brilliant sparkle still in her eyes, she fluttered out the door and down the stairs to the street, where she stopped a sign read, "Me." So for an eye. One flight up Della ran and collected herself, panting. "Will you buy my hair?" asked Della. "I buy hair," said Madam. "Take your hat off and let's have eyesight of it." Down rippled the brown cascade. $20, said Madam, lifting the mass with a practiced hand. "Give it to me quick," said Della. Oh, the next 2 hours were rosy as she ransacked the stores for Jim's present. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. There was no other like it in any of the stores, and she had turned all of them inside out. It was a platinum watch chain, simple in design, properly proclaiming its value by substance alone and not by ornamentation, as all good things should do. It was even worthy of the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew that it must be Jim's. Quietness and value. The description applied to both. $21 they took from her for it, and she hurried home with the 87 cents. With that chain on his watch, Jim might be properly anxious about the time in any company. Grand as the watch was, he sometimes looked at it on the sly on account of the old leather strap he used in place of a chain. When Della reached home, she got out her curling irons and went to work. Within 40 minutes, her head was covered with tiny close-lying curls that made her look wonderfully like a schoolboy. She looked at her reflection in the mirror long, carefully and critically. "If Jim doesn't kill me," she said to herself, "before he takes a second look at me." But what could I do with $1.87? Jim was never late. Della held the watch chain in her hand. She heard his step on the stair and she turned white for just a moment. She had a habit of saying little silent prayers about the simplest everyday things. And now she whispers, "Proud, make him think I'm still pretty." The door opened and Jim stepped in and closed it. He looked thin and very serious. Poor fellow, he was only 22. And to be burdened with a family. He needed a new overcoat, and he was without gloves. Jim's eyes were fixed on Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not read. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor disapproval, nor horror, nor any of the sentiments she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her. "Jim, darling," she cried, "don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold it because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It'll grow out again. You won't mind, will you? I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. Say I'm Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. Don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you." "You've cut off your hair?" asked Jim, as if he had not arrived at that fact yet. "Cut it off and sold it," said Della. "Don't you like me just as well, anyhow? I'm me without my hair, aren't I?" Jim looked about the room curiously. "You say your hair is gone?" "You needn't look for it," said Della. "It's sold, I tell you. Sold and gone, I tell you. It's Christmas Eve, boy. Be good to me, for it went for you. Maybe the hairs of my head were numbered." She went on with serious sweetness. "But nobody could ever count my love for you." Out of his trance, Jim seemed to quickly wake. He enfolded his Della in his arms. Jim then drew a package from his overcoat pocket and threw it upon the table. "Don't make any mistake, Dell," he said. "I don't think there's anything in the way of a haircut or a shave or shampoo that could make me like my girl any less. But if you'll unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going a while at first." White fingers tore at the string and paper, and then an ecstatic scream of joy. And then, alas, a quick feminine change to tears and wails, necessitating the immediate employment of all of the comforting powers of the Lord of the Flat. For there lay the combs, the set of combs, side and back. Della had worshipped long in a Broadway window. Beautiful combs, pure tortoise shell with jeweled rims. Just the shade to wear in the beautiful varnished hair. They were expensive combs, she knew, and her heart had simple craved and yearned over them without the least hope of possession. And now they were hers. But the tresses that should have adorned the coveted adornments were gone. But she hugged them to her, and at length was able to look up with dim eyes and a smile and say, "My hair grows so fast, Jim." And then Della leaped up and cried, "Oh, oh." Jim had not yet seen his beautiful present. She held it out to him eagerly upon her open palm. The dull precious metal seemed to flash with a reflection of her bright and ardent spirit. "Isn't it a dandy, Jim?" "I hunted all over town to find it. You'll have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it." Instead of obeying, Jim tumbled down on the couch and put his hands under the back of his head and smiled. He said, "Let's put our Christmas presents away and keep him a while. They're too nice to use just a present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs. And now, suppose you put dinner on." The Magi, as you know, were wise men. Wonderful wise men who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. And here I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat, who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But in a last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are wisest. Everywhere they are wisest. God will bless you. We will continue with the Christmas story. Today's story is called The Glitter Card. Mommy, look at the beautiful glitter card," the little girl said. "Yes, Amanda, it is a beautiful card. Would you like me to buy it for you?" Amanda nodded her head, yes. Amanda didn't know who to send the glitter card to. The stars were shining so bright on the card. It was as if the card was trying to tell her something. The little girl wondered what this special card was trying to say. It was 2 days before Christmas when her Uncle Gerard came and visited her. Amanda showed him her special glitter card and asked him if he knew what the card was trying to tell her. "Well, Amanda, I think this card is very, very special, and you must decide what to do with it. You can send it to your parents, friends, aunts, uncles, or can give it away to someone special," said Uncle Gerard. Amanda didn't want to mail it to anyone or give it away. She wanted to keep it forever. So she told her uncle that she would keep the card until it told her what to do. Her uncle laughed, patted her head. On Christmas Eve, Amanda went downtown to the toy store. She loved looking in the windows, and she knew that Santa Claus would be giving her everything she had on her Christmas list. Standing next to her was a mother with a child. They were dressed in torn clothes that didn't look very warm. The little girl asked her mommy if Santa Claus would know they were living in their car, and would he bring her a gift this year. The little girl's mommy had the saddest eyes Amanda ever seen. With a small tear falling down her face, the mother told her little girl that she hoped Santa Claus wouldn't forget them. Amanda pulled her glitter card out of her pocket, looked at it, and then realized what the special glitter card was telling her. Amanda reached into her other pocket, took out the $5 Uncle Gerard had given her, and handed the card and the money to the girl's mother. Amanda ran all the way home. She was happy she was able to help someone, but she missed her special glitter card. Throughout her life, at Christmas time, she always remembered the special glitter card she once had. She had told her children and grandchildren the story of her special card and how one card and $5 helped make a Merry Christmas for one family. One cold Christmas Eve, Amanda was sitting alone on a park bench. A girl came over to Amanda and asked her why she was crying. Amanda told the little girl that her husband had died 2 years ago and her children had all moved away and she was all alone. The girl reached into her pocket and pulled out an old tattered card and handed it to Amanda, saying, "Please take this card. Many, many years ago, someone gave this card and $5 to my great-grandmother on Christmas Eve. Great-granny told me it was the best Christmas they ever had." Amanda was shocked to see it was the card she had given away so many years ago. She was just about to tell the girl that she was the one who gave the card to her great-grandmother when the girl reached into her other pocket and pulled out $5. She handed Amanda the money and said, "Please hold on to this card until you find someone special to pass it on to." With that, the girl ran away. As Amanda was looking at the glittered card, she was shocked to see all the stars started to move. Instead of a group of shining stars, they now grouped together to form one bright shining star. Amanda now realized what this card was telling her so many years ago. Christmas isn't about